it's important to work on yourself. You can't just suddenly find balance within yourself, because we have to go through the ups and downs of life, the yin and yang, the good, the bad, to
Right.
really understand things. I mean, I've had experiences in my life that I wouldn't want others to go through.
Sure.
But through those experiences, I've grown into being the person I am. If I hadn't had those ex- experiences, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Right.
So you have to go to those other sides to come back into the center, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Because
Sure.
if you don't know what it's like to be in the dark, how can you know what it is to be in the light? And you've got to have light and dark to come to that balance. When I find that I'm stressed, that I'm causing aggravation in my life, that I don't have the downtime, I don't have the enjoyment and laughter, and everything is difficult, everything is a struggle, and I can't find the time to just relax and stop the brain and sleep and be in a conversation 100%. Am I here with you now? Or am I thinking, oh, what does my hair look like? Oh, what is this going on? Am I really present?
Right.
Because if I'm not present, my mind is thinking about all the other goop,
Yes.
the good
Yes.
opinion of other people.
Yes. It's
And
yeah.
I'm learning that I have to be here with you now. And that's taken a journey. What is the legacy that you're actually leaving? And like your people, heart talk, you're touching people's heart, making the impact, making people feel good. And if I can make somebody feel good, impact somebody in my life, that they want to live their better life. I've experienced, 3 suicides in my family. I've attempted suicide. And if I can get somebody to say, life is worth living,
Yes.
life is good, I can
Yes.
see that light at the end of the tunnel. Isn't that worth it?
Absolutely. Welcome everyone to Heart Talk, coming to you live from Kota Kinabalu in Sabah in Malaysia. And so today it's about heart-to-heart conversations on real issues of life. We're talking about health, we're talking about well-being, and we're talking about spiritual living. You know, coping with changes in life and work involves a process of transition. William Bridges wrote the book Transitions, Making Sense of Life's Changes. He talks about it in 3 phases, that there is an end, there is a neutral zone, and then there is the beginning. And he gives us skills and he gives us pathways that we can follow to avoid being caught off track. And it's a skill. We can have all the road maps, all the brain maps, all the mind maps everywhere. But at the end of the day, it's about you and me living the abundant life. You cannot change what you do not know. And my guest today has worked in natural therapies for the last 25 years. She's been previously training staff in a corporate environment to enable them to reach their full potential. And before leaving that part of the world in her life, she started to focus on raising her own family. And now she's focusing on the Elite Mentorship Forum, EMF, a proven and effective life transformation program that supplies and gives you the key to understanding how to live a truly empowered life. So she has been through transitions too. But as I said earlier on, there is a central zone called the neutral zone. And many of us get stuck there. And we really, if we look at the traffic lights in that particular zone, they're all red. Now, my guest has got a fantastic way of turning those red lights to green. Because everybody else might be moving on that green zone and you're still stuck in the red zone. But there's a way of getting out of it and getting back on track. She is Christene Loweth, and she comes from live from Wellington in New Zealand. I'm excited because every time I meet her, I feel I'm on the right track. And I want you to meet her too, because she's going to help us to unleash the best version of ourselves. So would you join me to welcome Christene Loweth from Wellington in New Zealand. Welcome, Christene.
Hi, lovely to see you again.
Yeah,
It's amazing. I love your energy.
You know,
So
it's
cool.
the energy is there because you've helped me to get on the right track.
Yeah.
And you know, I was talking, and my introduction was about transition, and I love the way that you put about, are your traffic lights red? And you know, and in life, that neutral zone I talk about when we are shifting, it's all about shifting patterns in life, and many of us get stuck in that red zone. For me, as a medical man, as a plastic surgeon, red zone means emergency. When
Yes.
that call goes out, red zone, the traffic lights are red, means everybody get on that spot, somebody needs help. And so
Yes.
many people are stuck there because they need help. And because they're in an environment like me, I went through all my struggles by myself. I didn't have people like you around me, because I think one hug would have put me right and I would have had the lights green.
I'll come and give you a hug.
Yeah, but you know, we can't run away from the facts of life. And so I want to welcome you to Heart Talk. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. It's lunchtime here, and I know it's evening at 6 o'clock right there in New Zealand. And so we're going to have some lovely time with you. And I want to start our conversation with aroma. You know, in
Aroma.
in the spiritual field, you know, as a Christian, there's always the aroma of Christ. You see, so even in the present, there is the aroma to God, and it continues to eternity. We are the aroma of Christ. So I love the word aroma, and you have been living in that aromatherapy. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, I love aromatherapy. And if you want to quote the Bible, Jesus was given frankincense and myrrh.
There you go. There you
So
go.
they would do amazing aromas.
There you
So,
go. That is the
yes,
birth.
yes, the birth, the beginning,
Yes, the beginning. Yeah.
to anoint him in the
That's right.
oils.
Well done. That's a terrific reference, because it gives a sense of another dimension of life, that is not all the haze and the duskiness and the disruption, but there's another zone that we can go into. And you've been living in that for 25 years. So tell us, how did you end up with the House of Oils?
Ah, that was a fun thing. I started to study aromatherapy in the UK when I had very little children. And I'd been working in the corporate world, and I'd felt like my brain was going to be freezing. So I went to study aromatherapy at the local college. And when I moved to New Zealand, it was sort of like, oh, I'm just starting here. Okay, transition to New Zealand. Great. And I then continued my studies in aromatherapy, and somebody at the local
But hang on, I
college.
want to stop you there. Hang on. I want to stop you there. What got you? What got you into aromatherapy? There must have been something that triggered that you know, that lane.
Well, it was one of the courses at the college, and
Okay.
I thought, okay, that sounds interesting. I went to the college and I loved it. It was Dr. Vivian Lunny, who's well known in the UK, and she was teaching the course. And it was fantastic because I had 2 young children, and I was then beginning to use the essential oils on my children. And my son had problems with breathing and things, so I would elevate the cot slightly and put a bowl of hot water with eucalyptus, which would infuse through, which helped his breathing. Nappy rash using lavender.
Wow.
There was different ways, and it was sort of like, wow, this is so amazing. I'm so pleased I came across this while I've got my children young. And I then have continued to use the essential oils with the family. And of course, now my children are 32, 33, 28, and they actually automatically say, oh, Mum, which essential oil should I use? They don't tend to go to the cupboard and say, which pharmaceutical shall I use? It's which essential oil shall I use? Because they were actually brought up with them, and I
Right.
use them all the time with them. So yeah, that was what got me into it, and I loved it. And I then continued my passion for the oils when I got here to New Zealand. It was one of those things I thought, no, I've got to follow up on this. I'm not going to let it drop. I need to keep my passion alive for the oils. You know,
Sure.
when I ended up with 3 children, and I would get up at 1 in the morning to study until 3 in the morning because it was quiet.
Right. With the oils.
Yes. Yeah. Smelling my oils. Like basil and rosemary to help with the memory.
Really?
So,
So it works.
yes. Yeah,
Okay,
it
how
does
does it
work.
work?
Well,
The reason why I'm dwelling in this is because
yes.
we have a medical spa here. I got a med spa in my clinic. This is my clinic, and there's a room in here, and then we've got this smell that comes out. The girls will put a couple of drops in it, and then the
Yep.
whole room is got this aroma, and kind of like people come in, they kind
Diffusers.
of like And I've got another one right down here before I go live, and this one has got a this one has got a stick in it, and the incense the incense fills this whole place, so everybody's on a high.
Yeah.
Before I go live, and so that's why I'm so relaxed when I enjoy my podcast. but
Yeah.
but this is really interesting because we're always talking about the mind. So when you talk about the aroma, and how does that work on the mind?
Because when you smell something, as you know, being a medical person yourself, that the aroma goes through the nasal passage, the cribriform, into the olfactory bulb, and then straight into the brain.
Right.
There's no sensory going down the nervous system the
Sure.
same. So it impacts you emotionally very quickly,
Uh-huh.
very quickly. And so that's why people will have a partner or an ex-partner and they smell their aroma and it invokes that emotion quickly. So if you can choose essential oils and aromas that can calm your nervous system and you
Right.
breathe it in, it goes straight into your nervous system
Yeah.
very
So
quickly.
does it really matter whether it's lavender or whether it's this or that? There's a whole concoction of them. So
Yes.
so they affect differently? I mean, the chemical, the stimuli are different?
Yes, there's stimulants, there's sedatives, there's emmenagogues, and there's all sorts of different
Seriously?
yes, essential oils that do different things, and they've got different chemical constituents. And it's
Wow.
the chemical constituents which will tell you about the healing properties of an essential oil. So that's why it's particular of choosing an essential oil for different um, purposes.
I'm
So if you
sure.
want to calm someone down, you don't want to be using a stimulant oil.
Of course.
Peppermint, rosemary, basil. Although, basil can calm the mind down because it's a cephalic.
Right.
So it can clear the mind.
Right.
Yeah?
So
So
which is the one which you will have at home? I mean, like right now, if I want an oil and I want the fragrance and the aroma to really get my vibes in and all that. Which give me one that I would. Girls are writing it down at the back of me.
well, actually, they say clary sage is a euphoric.
Oh really? Clary's Age.
clary sage is a euphoric.
Okay. And well, okay, girls, write it down because it's not it's not often because you know why as a plastic surgeon, right? 99% of my patients are women, so I'm going to play and I'm going to put different oils for different women. So
I like the combination of ylang ylang and grapefruit because
wow,
ylang ylang is actually quite sweet, but the grapefruit sort of cuts through it slightly, and I I like that combination myself.
nice, nice.
Ylang ylang and
Okay,
grapefruit.
okay, so nice. I mean, that's a nice place to start our conversation. So
Mm,
now we've got the aroma going, we've got the feelings all going, we're all in this nice mood and nice state. Now I want to take you to this headline that's on LinkedIn page, right there on
mm,
the banner. It
yeah.
reads this: balance is not something you find, it's something you create. How so?
Because it's important to work on yourself. You can't just suddenly find balance within yourself because we have to go through the ups and downs of life, the yin and yang, the good, the bad, to
Right.
really understand things. I mean, I've had experiences in my life that I wouldn't want others to go through.
Sure.
But through those experiences, I've grown into being the person I am. If I hadn't had those ex- experiences, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Right.
So you have to go to those other sides to come back into the center, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Because
Sure.
if you don't know what it's like to be in the dark, how can you know what it is to be in the light? And you've got to have light and dark to come to that balance.
Right. Okay. Because there are many who are, including myself, have lived in dark spaces because
Mm.
of the work ethics. Because of our work, we get up in the morning, we get onto the operating table. By the time we finish, we got our patients. And I tell you honestly, we really talk to people. I mean, especially now that I've got the time and doing all these podcasts, many of us have been living in that dark space and not realizing that there's so much of light in the world.
Oh, I know, isn't there?
And you think that life, who switched the lights off?
You did. You did.
Exactly. You see, it's always we against ourselves. It's me against me.
And
And
stories that you're telling yourself.
absolutely, and so that's why when you talk about getting on track, um, how does one realize that I'm off track?
For me, and I can only talk from my point of view, when I find that I'm stressed, that I'm causing aggravation in my life, that I don't have the downtime, I don't have the enjoyment and laughter, and everything is difficult. Everything is a struggle, and I can't find the time to just relax and stop the brain and sleep and be in a conversation. 100%. Am I here with you now? Or am I thinking, oh, what does my hair look like? Oh, what is this going on? Am I really present?
Right.
Because if I'm not present, my mind is thinking about all the other goop,
Yes.
the good
Yes.
opinion of other people.
Yes. It's
And
yeah.
I'm learning that I have to be here with you now. And that's taken a journey. Doesn't
Absolutely.
happen overnight for me.
Absolutely. You're saying a page from my book. And actually, what you're saying is mirrors what's called mindfulness, isn't it?
Mm.
That being mindful of the present moment, there's power in that present. And,
Yes.
and how, because, I never knew about this whole concept of mindfulness and how much it would have mattered to my own life if I just stopped to think, this whole question of thinking about what you're thinking, metacognition. I think it's like traffic lights, waiting for it to turn green.
Yes.
And when you're red, there's so much to think about, because when it turns green, you don't want to come back to that red spot. You've crossed over.
Yes, you've crossed over, you've gone. You've gone.
It's gone. And
And have you taken in the learning while you were stopped?
yes. But Christine, and this is why, because you're a mentor, you're a coach. How does one stop putting the wrong things into the mind? Because a lot of the stuff, that the baggage that we have taken on, is putting the wrong things in, and
Yes.
we spend the later part of our life taking all the rubbish out. You see.
Yeah.
And it's like my phone telling me, it's full. You need to declutter your phone. You need to, you need to get something in to clean up
Clear
your
the
phone.
clear the cache.
Yes. Yeah. So I think a lot of us have picked up, we live from the opinions that we have of ourselves. And we need to rise above it, because there's more than what we've been telling ourselves, isn't it? Talk to us about that aspect of. Later on, I'm going to go into the EMF program. But I'm sure in life you would have put on thoughts and all the wrong patterns,
Oh,
and
yes. And I've learnt those patterns through my peer groups
right.
and through my caregivers, because they're the people who I learnt from a very young age. And this is one thing I'm becoming very mindful of with my 2-year-old granddaughter. What are the things I am saying to her? What are the impressions that I am imprinting into this beautiful sponge brain, who is so wanting to take on everything? There's such a sponge for language, for emotions, for words, for everything you say and do. They just soak it up. And we have to unlearn that the older we get.
Yes, absolutely.
And I had to unlearn a lot, because I learnt so much from all the different people that cared for me as a young child. And I learnt my values, I learnt my beliefs and the rules that go with those values and beliefs. I learnt them off other people, and I wasn't even aware of what was running in my brain.
Right. Right.
And I had to stop and go through a process and do different courses, because I've done quite a few different courses
I'm sure, sure. And
to,
there's no end to it. And
it's not stopping. And I think when you stop, then you might as well say bye.
yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Because, you know, one of the main reasons why I'm moving on to this mindfulness, and I'm forming this company now called Mindflow Ergonomics, is because I can see what I have done in the faces of my own children. And because you cannot run away from your brain, you cannot run away from what you have done. These are stories in front of you, and now I'm beginning to realize so much of how to have been mindful of everything that you do as a parent. And because those imprints, like you talk about, are the footprints of time. Those
Yes.
imprints in the brain become the footprints of time, and you realize that you can't. Those footprints are permanent. So
Yeah.
what you're doing is such a wonderful give back, a payback to society, to the people around you, because you're breathing life into life as opposed to death into death. You know what I mean? Because this is the whole concept of transformation programs, isn't it?
Yes.
Is one life transforming the other.
And it just, sometimes it's the tiniest little thing that can be said, and it can unravel so much, and somebody can suddenly go, wow,
Yes,
that was so simple. And
yes,
I'm now feeling different, and I can, like, I'm also doing this. I do coaching courses myself because I'm still learning, and I'm doing this archetypal one at the moment as well, and learning how to speak to my son in a different way is creating a totally different relationship. And it's
absolutely,
amazing
absolutely.
understanding how he hears things and how I say things, and how we can be at cross purposes. And it's sort of like, whoa.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had, if anybody were to ask me, sometimes when you hear, Christine, when you hear people talking and they say, or couples, and they say, oh, my life has been so fantastic and we've been married, and I keep listening to all that, and I wonder, why can't I repeat what they are saying, where have I been living all the while, but I can tell you something, it is so scary when you reach a point and you tell yourself enough is enough. And you kind of like, you don't want to use the word burning out, but really it is. The candle's slowly closing in, the wick's finishing. And then you realize that, can I start again? So I want to bring you to this. I talked about transitions, right? And again, I'm going to remind you, you're going to go back to your program. But how does one take courage to begin it again? If you know what I mean. Because I find that being in the neutral zone can be a lifetime, when somebody has given up some job and then moving to another and you're stuck there and you're scared about doing another beginning because you've got a track record. Where does that courage come from?
Comes from within.
For sure.
And one of the things I've felt is that you have to calm the mind first. Connect with your heart, and then find the courage to step forward. And it is difficult, and I've had to do it myself. I left a marriage with 3 young children and buying my own house on my own and starting afresh, and it was scary.
Of course.
It was scary to take those steps, not knowing what was going to happen. Was I going to be able to pay the bills? And but I was focused. I actually said, well, set that target. Make a decision. And it's making a decision. And also having people who can support you and hold your hand and encourage you to take those steps. Because sometimes taking that step is difficult on your own. So reaching out and saying to someone like a mentor or coach, hold my hand, help me. And that then people can encourage you and be with you and find your point within, because it's different for every person, why you want to do something. And mine was at that point when I moved in to buy a new house was I wanted a roof over the head. My children, I wanted them to have a home. And having a home was a driving force for me because of my childhood. So, because we lost our childhood home. It was taken away from us when I was 10, 11, and we lost it all. So that was a driving force for me to have a home. So it's finding what is your driving force, what can move you forward, and finding that inner strength. And sometimes, no, we can't do it on our own. We need someone to hold our hand and guide us and move us forward. And then it's looking at all the different strategies and where you believe. And I'm a great believer of beliefs and faith and values and rules, because these shape us and keep us stuck. And understanding them helps us to move forward.
Right, right. It's like befriending the enemy within, because if you're not really partners with what all the blocks are, you can't cross over. And you said it pointedly that I'm talking to you in this conversation heart to heart. For those, like for me, I don't have anybody around to have guided me through my struggles. You see, a lot of it depends upon, like you say, you need people around you to help you. There are people out there, Christine, in the world who are struggling on their own. And I've been through programs, and I've spent enough of my, take for example, trying to lose weight. I was...
Yes. It's great when you get older, isn't it?
You're telling me.
Cuddly bits.
Yeah, I tell you, I think I've spent about Malaysian money like 3,000 to 4,000, and I'm back worse than I was before, because And I was talking to a professor, Dr. Selena, Bartlett, and from Brisbane, and she was talking about it's about addiction. You're a sugar addict. There's so many things that I'm discovering now that I wish I had a twin that I can go back and relive all those years.
Yes. Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I know, but it's so refreshing to talk to you. Now, 11 years ago, a clinical psychologist in Sydney said these 4 words to me. I had just had open heart surgery, and I was with my camera, and whenever I was trying, I started HEARTtalk, and I was interviewing specialists and heart surgeons and blah. I was going through such a brain trauma, in the sense I was going to die. I'm in suicide. I can't sleep. I'm having insomnia. I'm a surgeon, and imagine having my chest ripped open. You know what I mean? Traumatic. But I had nobody to help me. I was alone, and the only way I could do was with my camera and my microphone and interview people. And she said these 4 words. She said, "Charles, be kind to yourself."
Yes.
And at that time, and I said, what the hell is she talking about? Because it didn't make any sense at all, because I came back and went back to work. Until today, I still do not know how to be kind to myself. Is it having a glass of wine? Is it talking to Christene Loweth? And I came across your post, your article, when you wrote about be gentle with yourself. Talk to us about that. How important it is, because it's like, I loved it. But, and I've got it here, you wrote be gentle with yourself. May sound like a good idea, but what does it really mean? And you were talking about it as a philosophy, as a way of thinking. So talk to us about that, because I never knew what all this meaning is. Be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself. I mean, come on. This is 21st century. We got to rock and roll, But when I see your angle about thinking of self and being and emphasize a process, and again, I got to ask her about this, because okay, let's go.
Well, it's just being still. Sometimes we don't take the time to just stop. You've got a car. Do you just always go out and drive the car and don't care about it at all? Check the tires, check the oil, check the fuel. Why are we not doing that for ourselves? Why do we not stop and say, how is my heart feeling? Am I checking in with my emotions? The feelings in my body? Am I being kind with my thoughts? Because actually we can be the cruelest person to ourselves by telling us, somebody would give you a compliment. Oh, I love what you're wearing. Oh, this old stuff. Why? Where did we learn that? Where did we learn to be so critical of ourselves and to be so unkind to ourselves? So it's actually catching ourselves and going, no, I'm really good. I'm a lovely person. And yes, acknowledging, yes, I can't say I've been the best of people all the time.
Right. Yeah.
But so I give myself space, and I say I deserve to have a bath and relax with maybe a candle burning and be still. Checking in with how I'm talking to myself. These types of things.
Wonderful. I mean, I feel that I'm already having this aromatherapy in my head right now. I'm coming to Wellington tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
And, because, is it because we have reached a stage in our lives where we can look back and talk like this? What about a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old doctor who's going to work, and they're so busy trying to make ends meet, and they've got no time to sit down and put the smoke up there and have a Zen feel. They're just on it.
Trouble is that when you're on it all the time, your brain is so tired you make mistakes.
Right.
And it's like, would you drive your car on full throttle all the time? You're going to do damage to that car, aren't you?
Right. Yeah, I know.
And so it's actually, what's the analogy that someone can, so maybe your surgeon saying it, would you drive your Ferrari or whatever car they might have because they're working so hard that they can afford a good car? Would you drive it at full throttle all the time? Or would you make sure you service it? Make sure you change gears?
Yeah, right.
You
Absolutely.
know, it's finding analogies that people can relate to. That might be someone who likes cars. You might find another analogy, and it's connecting in to something that is tangible to them,
Yes.
that they can actually relate to. Because unless you can relate to something, it means nothing to you. That's all. That's another book. That's
It is.
another saying.
That's another saying. Yeah, the true. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, well, it's wonderful. I mean, it's a lovely take, and there's simply a better way to be,
Definitely.
and that's you. That's quoted from you. And so I'm going to move on to this, the last, last 10, 15 minutes that we have.
Oh, is it?
On,
Is it gone? Really?
yeah, that's right. What's missing is a glass of wine. But
I've got my cup of tea.
there you go. And so I want to move on to, for those who are listening in, to the Elite Mentorship Forum,
Yes.
because I think that's your heart and your passion right now.
Yes.
And you say that there's so many personal development programs out there, and you have started this, having spoken to you and got to know you better, that this is something different. It spoke to you.
Oh,
The program came face to face with you.
yes.
And I think that's very important to identify oneself and what one is doing and learning from. Um, Talk to us about it. How has this transformed you personally, and why is it different than all the others?
Oh, this program is a 6-month program,
Okay.
and you go through it, and it's Peter Sage put it together from learning 30 years of learning different self-development programs, and he realized that things weren't making the point to get you to move from by me to through me.
Right.
So, and that's discussed in the program because there's different ways that we do things. We're at the point of this is always happening to me. Oh, I'm the victim. And then you move into I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it happen. And that's the by me. And then you move into through me. And then very enlightened people move into as me. And when you're allowing yourself to work through me, things come to you. So the program takes you through all the different stages, gets you looking at, first of all, what are you putting out into the field of potentiality? What are the messages you're sending out there that are going to come back? Then he talks about learning genius, the different binaural beats and the different ways of learning. And then we'll move on to wealth and abundance and relationships. And it takes you through this whole 6 months. And there's a group of people and you help each other. You create a new peer group. And we always resonate with the people in our peer group.
Right.
So, like having this experience with you is a different peer group, a different group of people that is great. It's fantastic to connect with you
Yes.
because it elevates me and elevates my learning by connecting with you. And then we do one module every 2 weeks. So we do a community call and we discuss the module, and then we have a question and answer session where you can bring questions up and say, oh, what does this mean? How does that affect? And we answer these questions.
Right.
So it's a very good program. And I found that the other thing is you do these videos and you don't realize the transition that you're making until you look back at your first video
Yes,
and you say,
absolutely.
whoa, is that me?
Yeah,
Look
you're
at me
right.
now.
That's right. That's right. It's true. It's really true because it's an evolution of where you're from, and you want to see the change that you want to be. You know what I mean? At the end of it, you think that there's a change. You can't change what you do not know, like I always say. But ultimately, when you change to the person that you want to be, a best version of yourself.
Yes.
And is there an age group that can really pick on to this, or anybody can kind of join this program?
Anybody. We've had people from 14, 15 on the program, with people actually going up to 80 odd on the program.
Wow. Okay, okay, okay.
And so it affects different people in different ways. And you've got the young people. Oh, and there's a group of us who want to so affect the impact on the young people, getting them to see their potential and how they can change the world.
Right.
And then you've got sort of older people. What is the legacy that you're going to leave? What is it you're leaving behind? A legacy isn't a pocket full of money. A
Sure.
legacy is how you have impacted people, how you have touched their heart. Because people, like Peter Sage says, the only people who were buried with their money were the Egyptians, and then we went and stole it. So,
Right, right.
um, you
Yeah.
don't want to be doing that.
Yeah.
So, what is the legacy that you're actually leaving? And like your people, heart talk, you're touching people's heart, making the impact, making people feel good. And if I can make somebody feel good, impact somebody in my life, that they want to live their better life. I've experienced, 3 suicides in my family. I've attempted suicide. And if I can get somebody to say, life is worth living,
Yes.
life is good, I can see that light at the end of the tunnel. Isn't that worth it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this is the story of everyone's life, isn't it? Because it's so sad. I was just talking to someone the other day, and I said, if you can rewire your brain and rewire your minds and all that, when they do marriage vows, and part of the statement says for better or for worse. And who on earth put the word for worse there? Because you're already you're already programmed, even even before the ring goes in, for better or for worse. Why couldn't it be
Why
like,
not for better and better?
yeah, like we say true and true, not true and false, but
Yeah.
and then whole life has been programmed to a disaster.
Yeah, because we are spell casting the whole time with our
Yeah.
words that we're saying. It's going out there. We don't realize that what we say is what we're going to bring back. And like you say, better or worse. Sorry.
Yeah, and I was laughing to myself, and I said, "Who the heck wrote these vows? They must have been coming from the wrong place, And
Yeah.
then now I'm hearing all this rewiring and retraining and all about the brain. I said, where have I been all this while? I've been living,
I
but
know. Well, the
because
other
of
thing,
the other thing,
the other thing is when we begin to rewire our neural pathways and laying down new myelin, it doesn't happen. It's like imagine a field that's got snow in it, and you start to walk across it. It's one set of footprints. You have to keep walking backwards and forwards, and then you know the pathway. You
yeah,
see it, and that's what's happening when you're rewiring your neural pathways. And one of the modules is about, as I say, we have the different stages of learning. We don't know what we don't know. We're unconsciously unconscious. Then we're consciously unconscious.
Yes, I've heard this, yes.
Yeah? Then we're consciously conscious, and then we're unconsciously conscious. And where we give up most, where we stop, is the times that we are consciously unconscious. I'm learning the skill. Oh, I'm so frustrated. And we give up. But that's the time we're laying down the most myelin. We're getting the most growth. And that's the time to persevere.
I mean, I know. I remember when I was first introduced to this, Christine, and then I said, "Oh, there was another pathway," and they said, "What?" Is it? It's about unconscious and staying unconscious until until somebody comes up and says, "Wake up!" You've gone into this unconscious state, and I mean, life can be fun. It's just that I personally feel that you become one of the five around you. I mean, if you've got people around you who see the lighter side of life and are able to finish a 7-8 hour surgery and then come out and have a glass of wine and enjoy the sea and that kind of life just breeds a new myelin sheath and new fibers growing, and I think that's hard to come by. They're far and few. But anyway, as we wind up this
But with
conversation,
you, with your talks, there'll be more and more.
I'm sure, but they're too far
Just
away.
spreading the word.
They're all over the place. The one's in Wellington, the other one's in America. But for better or for worse, we'll get together sometime.
Yes, we will. And by you actually beginning this, and you beginning to put those tiny ripples, and the ripples will go out, so it will flow.
I'm sure it will, because as I said, we are launching this Mind Flow Ergonomics, and I'm talking about how it's amazing that you can even hack your codes in your brain, and so when Dr. Rainer Kraft from Germany, he's a really another Silicon Valley mindset, and he was telling me this, and I said, yeah, amazing how we can really reprogram the mind so that we become smart. I talk about smart aging all the time. I don't like anti-aging. How we can become smart people with smart partnerships, you know what I mean? And really make the best of life, Of course, life has got its ups and downs, but at least we are future-proofing ourselves. That we are guarded, we guard our heart because that's the wellspring of life, and I think this is such an interesting way. Well, listen, what are the last final words that you want to tell the audience? I mean, what would be your take home and take away of your life, your journey from oils to now pathways and forums? It's so all through the way the oils are still staying because it seems to be following you all the way, and that's beautiful.
Yes, well, I love my essential oils. They calm me. I take them with me whenever I travel.
I'm sure.
And I would say be kind to you. Find something that resonates, and if you can, get an essential oil that you can actually smell. When you're in a good place, smell the oil when you're... To begin with, you get an oil that you resonate with, and you can infuse that oil in happy times. All right? The reason for doing it in happy times is that immediately invokes that memory. Then the times that you're feeling down, when you smell that aroma, it will immediately change your whole physiology back to that happy time.
Nice. Okay, so I used to watch a program on TV, 30, 40 years ago called Have Gun Will Travel. And so now we're coming up with a new series called Have Oil Will Fly, and and I think there's no end to living life. But on that note, Christine, listen, we love you and we thank you for your life. Your life is so full of fun, and you make life worth living. And I hope many will come and sign up for this Elite Mentorship Program and Forum. And we'd love to have you join us on Mindflow Ergonomics, where we bring the whole flow. I mean, life has to flow and not get stuck. You know, we are talking
Yes.
so much about getting unstuck and getting on track. But if we are flowing in the right, wave and create storms and all that, I think life is worth living, And
Should I give you my website?
yes, how do people want to contact you?
ChristineLoweth.com.
All right, so that's how they contact you.
ChristineLoweth.com.
ChristineLoweth.com.
And the Christine is spelled CHRISTENE.
Yes,
LOWETH.com.
There you go, friends. So, on that note, Christine, once again, thank you for joining us on Heart Talk. Love you, and here's one oil to another. And I really enjoyed our time with you, and thank you for giving us the courage to persevere in life, and making sense of changes, transitions. There's always a beginning, there's always an end, but you make sense of that neutral zone. And I can promise you, all those listening in, those traffic lights won't be red, they'll be green because of you. There you go. So once again, thank you very much. And for all of you who have joined us on Heart Talk, thank you for joining us. Our special guest is Christene Loweth from Wellington in New Zealand. And I can tell you what, I'm going to organize a trip to go down there, and we're going to come back with some oils that will keep us flying again. So from all of us here, from Mary, the producer, and from Heidi, the coordinator, once again, thank you for joining us on Heart Talk, and we'll talk soon.